I'm Susan Neumann Reville, and I'm here to talk about my brother Steve Neumann, who was employed by WKY-TV. And we are the children of Howard Neumann, one of the pioneers of early television shows in Oklahoma City. Much of our childhood revolved around the WKY family and the people who were part of it. Early on, my brother and I remember one Sunday afternoon, drove around town, Oklahoma City, and the outlying towns, Yukon, Bethany, with my mom and dad. And our job, all four of us, were to count television antennas because WKY wanted an idea of how many people had televisions. So that's how early our association goes back with WKY-TV. My brother helped my dad with the OU Coaches Show, starting with when he was in high school, and would carry the equipment for my dad and learned to love it as much as I did, and would fly around with him all over the country. And eventually he went to college and majored in speech communication, and when he graduated from college in 1973, he was hired by WKY-TV as a news reporter. At the same time, he was working weekends with my father on the OU Coaches Show, filming games, editing film, and doing all the things involved with that. My brother started out actually doing on-air news, but about 1 o'clock in the morning, or if my memory serves, if they weren't televising that late, then his show must have been at midnight. It was the very last newscast of the day, and it was a 15-minute wrap-up. And he always said no one really ever saw him. And one of the things that happened when he first started was he had a tongue twister. He hadn't read the copy before he started, and he was giving some scores. And he had so much trouble pronouncing Loyola University that he pronounced it every single way that it isn't pronounced, and just gave up and said that university in Chicago because he figured that nobody was watching. One of his big stories was to go out and investigate and interview a farmer for a giant radish that had been grown, probably the largest radish in Oklahoma, and that was one of his beginning stories. But he ended up doing all kinds of important work at WKY and made wonderful associations along the way. My brother had been roommates in college for a while with Ron Thulin, and Ron Thulin also was hired after my brother at WKY-TV. And I have recently learned that Ron Thulin's audition film was actually shot and edited by my brother Steve. But nonetheless, Ron Thulin got the job and did a good job at WKY, and of course now is a national sportscaster. He also worked with Bob Dodson when Bob Dodson was Special Projects Director at WKY-TV. And in fact, my brother took over that position after Bob Dodson left to go to national television. But I remember one summer when he house sat Bob Dodson's house, and we all thought that was so cool. He also was a roommate of Brad Edwards, whom we loved. My brother Steve and Brad had many adventures together and shared a house together for a couple of years. They were both bachelors and worked at Channel 4 and had a wonderful time together. And Brad would come over to our house. My husband and I were newly married, and the guys would eat hamburgers and enjoy a home-cooked meal once in a while because neither of them cooked, and had wonderful times at WKY. Bob Berry was a wonderful mentor to my brother. He loved him so much, and Bob Berry did us the great honor to be an honorary pallbearer at my brother's funeral, and we treasure that, as well as Brad Edwards. And we appreciated them so much. Jack Ogle was another entity that made such a difference in my brother's life. He just loved him to pieces and worked, knew the Ogle boys, and all of that. I look back and I think of the stories that I heard and wish I could remember enough to repeat, but thoroughly enjoyed at the time. And it was like a big family. There were a whole bunch of young guys and women. working at WKY then. They were fresh out of college. All of these young people were energetic, idealistic, and fearless. And one of the most memorable ones was Pam Henry. Pam came to Oklahoma City and WKY TV and brought such courage and intelligence and tenacity, and of course was the first girl around there. And so she and my brother became great pals and worked together for a long time. My brother was there when Linda Cavanaugh first came on the scene, and they did a lot of stories together. The expose series and all kinds of interesting things. When my brother became special projects director at WKY, he was able to choose some interesting topics to explore. And at the same time, then he also hosted and produced Saturday Magazine, which was a topical show once a week, and that was a really good opportunity for him. He really enjoyed working behind the scenes more than on air, even though in 1981, when my father retired from hosting the OU Coaches Show with Coach Barry Switzer, and my brother took over as host, and he still enjoyed the behind the scenes more. He enjoyed editing, he enjoyed filming, he loved writing, and he did I'm biased, but he did a really good job at all those things. He also taped the OU Basketball Coaches Show for a number of years at WKY and did that on the side with Billy Tubbs and then Kelvin Sampson. And I remember the sets that they created at Channel 4. My brother went on to spend many years at WKY and enjoy all of his associations. He worked under Ernie Schultz, he worked with Ron Turner, a great friend who was a friend for so many years and still is. And when he left WKY to pursue his own production company, it was with very mixed emotions because all of his early adulthood had been molded and all of his energies had been poured into Channel 4. Never regretted one day of it. Loved it all. He started his own production company and they produced Discover Oklahoma for the Oklahoma Tourism Association. He also went into business with the late Steve Davis, famous quarterback of OU, and they developed a sports company with mobile units and hired out to film various sporting events around the country. My brother ended up at OU as director of sports broadcasting, and in fact installed the first big electronic screen scoreboard by Daktronics and was the one who put up everything during the games. And after that he went to work for Daktronics briefly and passed away unexpectedly at age 54. In 1986, on a little afternoon jaunt with a pilot and local business owner, Jim Harris, my brother was in a World War II Navy training plane off to an air show with my father's friend Jim in the second seat, and something went terribly wrong and there was a horrible plane crash, and the pilot was killed and my brother survived, and it was a difficult and long journey back physically and emotionally, and the Channel 4 family was always there for him and brought him back to health in many different ways. And I remember those names and will remember them always and appreciate those people so much. Ron Thulin, Ron Turner, Bob Berry, Jack Ogle, all of the people who stood by him and made him healthy again so that he could pursue his dreams. The WKY family has been important to my family forever, and I'm really happy to be able to share some memories today. I'll always keep him in my heart.